Good morning. It's a great privilege to stand in front of you this morning to talk about Professor Coase. I first met Professor Coase on May 1st, 1998 at Italian Village. It's a restaurant downtown Chicago when he interviewed me to become his research assistant. The last time I saw Professor Coase was on September 1st, 2013, the day before he passed away in his hospital bed. During the intervening 15 years and 4 months, Professor Coase was my boss, my mentor, my friend, and my co-author, a relationship Professor Coase often fondly described as a typical example of incomplete contract. It was my great fortune to walk into Professor Coase's life. I felt like a lucky pebble accidentally dropped on the foothill of Mountain Thai. Couldn't help but overhear the conversation between Mountain Thai and nature, and occasionally joined the conversation. It was a great journey of truth-seeking. It was nothing but inspiring to see an inquisitive mind stayed curious, sharp, and sparkling to the very end. All these years left me many memories of Professor Coase as a wise and encouraging mentor, a soft-spoken but tough-minded co-author, and a dear, loyal, and generous friend. Today, however, I'm going to share with you some memories of Professor Coase as a scientist of his own kind. This is an obvious choice for more than one reason. The purpose of this conference is to inspire, encourage, and to a less degree instruct the next generation of discovery. What else can better serve our purpose than an account of Coase as a working scientist? There is another reason. Despite the great impact Coase has had on economics, law, political science, and other fields, by and large, his general view of economics was far from accepted or even understood by the profession. This is what Coase wrote in 1988. So I'm going to read a quote from him. "My point of view has not in general commanded assent, nor has my argument for the most part been understood." End quote. Coase's award of the Nobel Prize in 1991 had certainly won him more fame and recognition, but I don't think it has invalidated Coase's assessment. Indeed, I think what Coase wrote then in 1988 remains true today. In his long career, Professor Coase had a handful of co-authors, all being his colleagues at the start of his career, who are no longer with us. To my knowledge, I'm the only exception. Compared with Ronald Fowlers and Ronald Edwards, who collaborated with Coase in the 1930s, I have another advantage. At that time, they didn't realize that their co-author was Ronald Coase. They could not possibly contemplate the rise of Coasean economics. So I felt it an obligation and a responsibility to record how Coase worked as a scientist, offering account of what motivated his research, what led him from one question to another, and in each case, how he came to his answer, and what questions he failed to crack. This is something I hope to deliver in the future when I write an intellectual biography of Professor Coase. In the meantime, let me sketch a few fragmented recollections of Coase as a scientist. A scientist solves problems, in contrast to a salesman who sells solutions. Coase showed little interest in shoring up a brand name. This is striking, particularly for someone who has probably done more than anyone else in highlighting the importance of property rights. Coase never accepted Coase theorem and was rather disappointed that it had misled economists to the imaginary world of zero transaction cost, while his intended message was, let's study the real world of positive transaction cost. Nor did Coase like the term Coasean economics. Coase was aware that his vision of economics was distinct and might well deserve a name of its own, but the honor should go to those who successfully turned his vision into reality. A scientist discovers or creates what Adam Smith called the connecting principles of nature. This task can be most fruitfully pursued, as Professor Coase tells us, only when our inquiry is based on solid empirical foundation. Professor Coase persistently criticized modern economics for being too abstract and theory-driven. He repeatedly challenged economists, particularly the young generation, to do empirical studies. At the same time, however, Professor Coase did not like many empirical studies he saw in academic journals. For one, Coase was skeptical of the use of aggregated statistical data. What made Coase skeptical was not statistical data, but aggregation across different categories. In addition, Coase was very keenly aware of the cost of our preoccupation with statistical data, because it led us to ignore the phenomenon that cannot be measured or readily quantified. Adam Smith, in Coase's view, was and remains the greatest economist ever. Some commentators, including Schumpeter, have complained that the wealth of nations contained few really original ideas. Be that as it may, Coase believed Smith's lasting contribution to economics rests elsewhere. Smith first created a subject for modern economics, that is, the working of a commercial society. Secondly, Smith provided a conceptual framework to study that subject, a framework we still use today. Like Smith, Coase always took economics as a study of man creating wealth in society under constraints imposed by real institutions. That's part of the reason why when Professor Coase was 102, he launched a new journal called Man and the Economy. He really wanted modern economics to stay focused on the subject matter, which is man creating wealth in society. Physics, from the time of Newton to Einstein to Feynman, always takes the universe as its subject of inquiry. Biology, from the time of Darwin to Crick and Watson, always tries to discover the secret of life. Economics, from the time of Smith to Marshall, had a subject matter, which was the real economy. More recently, economists take more pride in turning economics into a set of tools than studying the economy itself. This happened at a time when the modern economy kept evolving at an ever-increasing pace. The consequence of economics separating itself from the economy is as far-reaching as deep damaging. At the end of his life, Professor Coase accepted the fact that he was not winning the battle. But he was not disappointed. He thought the kind of revolution he imagined to take place in economics would take 100 years to come, if not longer. He often said that we are a young species. Biologically, we are a latecomer to the Earth. We have done relatively well, and we will do even better unless we engage in self-destruction in a grand scale. He firmly believed that economics will change. He often referred to a comment made by Edwin Kennan, the teacher of his own teacher, Arnold Plant. Quote, "However lucky error may be for a time, truth keeps the book and wins in the long run." I once asked Professor Coase why he remained so confident in truth's ultimate triumph. He looked at me and said quietly in his soft-spoken voice, "Well, all error must have its weakness." We have good reasons to share Professor Coase's optimism. For error to triumph, it would require all truth-seeking men and women to do nothing. In his long life, Professor Coase has done more than his share in seeking truth. It's our turn to carry on the torch of truth-seeking and keep marching on. Thank you.